Sophie Cunningham goes down with a season-ending right knee injury, and while she's still on crutches, the league hits her with a punishment. Injured, fined, furious. That's the headline, that's the gut punch, and that's why fans across the country are asking the same question tonight. How did we get to a point where a player's season ends on contact? Her team still claws out an overtime win over the Connecticut Sun on August 17th, and the next big news item is the league docking her for speaking up about officiating. We're going to walk through the moment, the mood, and the meaning behind it. Because if you love basketball the old-fashioned way with fair calls and respect for the people who play and whistle this game, you're going to feel this one. Let's start where everything changed. It's loud, tense, and late, an overtime grinder where every cut is contested, every screen has weight, every defensive rotation is a sprint. Bria Hartley explodes into the lane. Bodies crash. In a blink, Hartley tumbles and all that momentum catches Sophie's right leg at the worst possible angle. There's a half second when you think she'll spring up, because that's her, that's the brand, the grit, the I'm good nod. But the knee says otherwise. She grabs it. The arena air thins. Trainers bolt from the bench. The camera lingers, because cameras always do when pain is unmissable. And you can feel a locker room's heartbeat change from fight to fear. This is the part of sports nobody claps for. This is the cost. The team still wins that night because professionals keep playing through the storm. But there's no celebration in the hallway, just the shuffle of crutches and the quiet that follows an MRI machine. A season doesn't actually end when a ligament snaps. It ends when the doctor walks in and tells you your next game is months away. That's the moment that turns a schedule into a rehab plan and game film into physical therapy routines. And then, while the ice packs are still melting, comes the other headline: a league punishment for Sophie. Not for the play, not for Hartley's fall, for Sophie's voice, for the same thing she's been doing all year, speaking out loudly and clearly about officiating and consistency. You can write the policy case on a note card. Leagues protect officials, discourage public criticism, keep the product from becoming a nightly referendum on the whistle, but timing matters. When a player is injured, finding her for words hits more like a message about priorities than a neutral rule. Fans don't read the memo, they read the moment. The moment says, player down, fines up. And that's why the temperature spiked. It is not that rules shouldn't be enforced, it's that wisdom should decide when and how you do it. If you only know Sophie from dust-ups and viral clips, you're missing her center of gravity. She's a worker, she clotheslines fatigue, she shoots with no memory of the last miss, guards up and down the positional ladder, stirs her bench when the air goes flat. She's also a talker, unapologetic, raw around the edges, unafraid to say out loud what lots of players mutter in tunnels. That combination, engine and echo, makes her polarizing to opposing fans and magnetic to her own. Teammates love that she'll sprint to pull you off the floor. Opponents hate that she'll tell you she's going to hit the next one and then actually do it. Officials know exactly where she stands because she'll tell them, and if you think that doesn't take a toll on a league office after a while, you haven't sat through a season of post-game transcripts. Here's what makes this particular story complicated in a very human way. The internet always goes straight to the ugliest version. Was it dirty? Did Hartley mean it? That's not how a pro locker room works. Intent is a hard thing to prove when 10 bodies are moving at pro speed in a tight lane. Two things can be true at once. The collision was awful in outcome, and the player who fell into Sophie did not set out to wreck anyone's knee. There was even a photo that made rounds, an angle where it looked like Hartley was grinning in the aftermath. Slow down, breathe, watch it twice. Sometimes what looks like a smile in a frozen frame is a grimace that reads wrong at 1/8,000th of a second. The better question isn't dirty or not, it's what did the temperature of that game feel like, and what tools did the officials use to manage it? Because that's where players live, they feel the slope more than they remember the snapshot. Sophie has been loud about that slope all year. It's not one call, one quarter, one crew. It's the roulette. One night, handsy perimeter defense is a no call until the final 2 minutes. Next night, it's 3 quick whistles on light contact and everyone is in foul management mode from the opening tip. One night, stars seem to breathe near the paint and the whistle chirps. The next night, your rookie gets whacked twice at the cup and it's play on. Players can adjust to strict and they can adjust to lenient. They cannot adjust to surprise. That's been Sophie's drumbeat. Set a standard, then stick to it. Protect freedom of movement, protect landing zones, protect the game when it leans toward reckless. She said it in more colorful words than that, and paid for those words with fines before. She laughed off the first one. She rolled her eyes at the second. The third coming while she's rehabbing isn't about dollars, it's about dignity. You could build a case that discipline must be consistent or it means nothing. That's fair. But leadership is the art of choosing the right tool at the right time. When a player's season has just been cut off at the knee, literally, the right tool rarely looks like a public fine. It looks like a call. It looks like someone from the league saying, "We hear your frustration, heal up." When you're ready, let's sit down and compare notes on how to improve the standard so your teammates don't end up on this table next. That's not weakness, that's stewardship. That's the old way. Quiet rooms, straight talk, handshakes, and for all our modern noise, that old way still works. The fans heard the timing first, not the rulebook. Injured and punished? Really? Player safety first, words second. If the league can be this quick to charge a fine, can it be just as quick to upgrade a reckless collision or tighten a chippy game before it spills? Those weren't just hot takes, they were honest expectations from people who love this game and show up for it. There is a smaller camp that says with some reason there has to be a line on public ref slander or everything melts down. Yes, but you don't keep order by ignoring the core complaint. You keep order by proving you're listening and then making the floor safer tomorrow than it was yesterday. This is where a traditional fan feels the ache. Basketball has unwritten rules older than instant replay. You don't root for injury, you help an opponent up because one day it will be you. You tip your head to the officials even when you hated their last call, and in return, they communicate early when the game starts to simmer. And from the top down, the league protects both the whistle and the player. When any leg of that stool goes wobbly, people don't just get mad, they lose trust. Sophie's been shouting about that trust all season, sometimes too blunt, sometimes right on the nose. The fine landed like someone hearing her volume and refusing to hear her point. Let's talk about the locker room, because this is where the story becomes practical. You don't just lose a minutes eater when Sophie goes down, you lose presence. Rotations change, matchups shift. Coaches start talking about committee on the wing, how they'll steal a few extra possessions with energy lineups, how the spacing and second side actions have to stay crisp without one of the loudest floor generals. But you also gain something too, purpose. Teams harden around a teammate who's watching in street clothes. The smartest tribute to a loud leader is more discipline, not more noise. Hands behind backs after whistles, calm, direct conversations with officials, clean screens, sharp closeouts, fewer cheap reaches. A group can echo her message without feeding the fine machine. On the other side of the hallway, the officials. We forget how much pressure sits on their shoulders until a clip goes viral. They're asked to police speed, strength, deception, and emotion in real time. They get graded, they get assigned, they get second-guessed from 3 camera angles they didn't have in the moment. Nobody is asking for perfection. Players don't even want that. They want a map. They want to know, tonight, this is how you're calling contact at the point of attack. This is how you're protecting shooters. This is what you will not tolerate when cutters knife through the lane. The league can help shrink that gray area with simple public points of emphasis the way old heads used to keep it. Plain talk and plain English. We're tightening forearm contact on drives, we're protecting landing zones, we're cracking down on arm bars and hip rides in transition. That kind of clarity, published and reinforced, buys goodwill in every building. It would also help to show the work. A short officiating report when a nationally watched game gets chippy goes a long way. Not to shame anyone, not to throw a crew under the bus, but to prove what the commissioner says behind a podium is happening behind the curtain. Review, feedback, training, adjustment. Pair that with real channels for player feedback. Quiet roundtables where veterans and officials trade film and talk through trouble spots, and suddenly speaking up doesn't require a microphone. You keep the heat out of pressers and put the solutions in private rooms where they belong. None of this erases the fact that Sophie can be too sharp with her words. She said as much herself in tone if not exact phrasing. Hold me to a standard, fine me when I cross it, but don't hide behind the fine and pretend the floor doesn't need work too. That's balanced. That's a grown-up ask. It's easy to paint her as the villain when she's jawing at a ref after a no call. It's harder to dismiss the pattern she's pointing at. Unpredictable enforcement creates chippy games, and chippy games create collisions you can't always walk away from. There's also the personal angle that refuses to be neat. Family gets loud when someone they love gets hurt. Fans saw that. And while the internet doesn't need more gasoline, you understand the spark. Then there's Sophie, who has shown more than once that you can be angry at a system and still be fair to a person. The easy story would be feuding players and blame. The better story is, she doesn't question intent in that crash. She questions the climate that allowed so much force to meet her knee unopposed. That's not scapegoating, that's leadership under control. Now picture the rehab. The first week is fog surgery, swelling, the slow, humiliating choreography of crutches and ice. Then the plan takes over. Range of motion, strength, balance. The first careful jog, the first pull-up jumper that feels like you're shot instead of a stranger's. This is where competitors like Sophie live happiest. A measurable staircase. She'll climb it because that's who she is. And when she comes back, she won't just bring a healthy knee, she'll bring a sharper filter and the same fire. Cynics think that means she'll be quieter. I don't. I think it means she'll be more effective. There's a way to fight for fairness that invites change instead of a memo and a fine. There's a way to stare down a whistle with a nod, save your words for the right room, and still walk out having moved the standard an inch. The team still has a season to finish without her. That's the part people forget while debating philosophy. There are matchups tomorrow and the day after that. Coaches will rewire sets to hide what's missing and highlight who's ready. Young players will discover that confidence is a decision. Veterans will absorb one more assignment each night. And sometimes, in the last 2 minutes, you'll feel that old-school current move through a group. 5 people locked into the same idea at the same time, and you'll see a hand go up from the bench, a voice you recognize cutting through the noise. Keep your feet, wall up, own the glass. Next play. Voice travels, cast or no cast. We can't end without talking directly to the league, because leagues are people, commissioners, supervisors, schedulers, communicators, who make choices every day about how the game feels. Keep protecting your officials, keep enforcing speech standards. But take this moment to prove something deeper, that player safety and referee credibility are not opposing forces. Publish more, in simpler words, invite players in early, adjust midstream when a point of emphasis goes wrong. And when injuries hit and emotions are high, choose the phone call before the fine. You'll buy trust, you'll save headlines, you might even save a knee down the line. If you're watching this because you love basketball the old way, toughness with humility, accountability with grace, then you already know why this story matters beyond one player and one punishment. The game lasts because we pass down more than sets and schemes. We pass down values. You don't celebrate when someone can't stand. You don't make the game harder than it already is on the bodies that play it. You listen when the floor generals tell you the map is blurry. And when everyone cools off, you meet in a room and you fix what you can fix. That's the tradition. That's the way forward. Imagine one more scene with me. It's months from now, the lights drop, the PA voice swells. A familiar silhouette steps out of the tunnel. No brace, no crutches, just that steady walk that says, "I'm back." The ovation is not for perfection, it's for persistence. She taps a teammate's shoulder, looks across at the officials, and gives a small respectful nod. The ball goes up. The first defensive stand is clean, the first offensive action is crisp, and somewhere between the second and third possession you realize you're not holding your breath anymore. It's just basketball again. And yet, because of everything that happened, it's also a little better, clearer in the corners, safer in the lane, truer in the moments that decide games. If you've ever yelled at a TV because a whistle made no sense, you're not alone. If you've ever sat with a silence that follows a bad injury, you're not alone there either. This story sits at the crossroads of those feelings. Sophie Cunningham's anger isn't just about a fine, it's about the order of things. Say what you will about her delivery, she cares about the standard, she wants the map, she wants the floor to be a place where hard play and player safety don't contradict each other. That's a fight worth having. And if this chapter pushes the conversation from reaction to reform, then a painful night in August will leave a good mark on the game we love. So heal up, Sophie, keep the edge, sharpen the words, bring the jumper back with the same quick draw and the same mean arc. And when you're back out there, let the presence do most of the talking. The league will remember, the officials will respond, the fans will notice. Because at the end of the day, that's how you change a league in the right direction. Less with slogans and more with steadiness, clarity, and the kind of respect that makes the next collision less likely to end a season. And here's the part we don't talk about enough. The way timing shapes a story. When a league moves fast on discipline but slow on transparency, it teaches fans what to care about. Headlines fill the vacuum, the nuance gets lost, and the noise gets loud. You can prevent that whiplash with a simple order of operations: check on the player, acknowledge the temperature, then make the call. People can accept hard decisions when they feel human hands made them. You can almost picture the parallel scenes the night everything flipped. In one room, a player icing a knee, replaying a split second over and over, trying to find the frame where fate might have turned if a foot planted different or a whistle came earlier. In another, a conference call where executives read policy aloud and try to stay consistent with past precedent. Those rooms don't have to be at war. The bridge between them is conversation before condemnation, clarity before consequences. Coaches from another era used to preach a simple creed: play through the whistle, not around it. That's the old school backbone a lot of us were raised on. What Sophie's been asking for, what many veterans quietly ask for, is a whistle that feels familiar from tip to buzzer. If a hand check is a foul in the first, it's a foul in the fourth. If freedom of movement matters for stars, it matters for role players. The jersey shouldn't change the law should change the game. There's also a business truth here that doesn't cheapen the basketball truth. This league is growing. New eyes are tuning in, new markets are opening, and first impressions become lifelong habits. Trust is the currency. If newcomers watch a player go down hard and then watch the league's next act be a press release about a fine, they'll form conclusions about priorities, fair or not. Fix that sequence and you keep those new fans in the room. Fix it consistently and you turn them into diehards. Picture the small details that build that trust. A 2-minute center court clip the following day where the supervisor of officials explains 3 plays from that game in plain language. A brief note that says, "Here's what we got right, here's what we missed, here's the point of emphasis going forward." A quiet check-in from the commissioner's office to the injured player. A Union League roundtable scheduled within a week to gather feedback on the temperature of play. None of that requires reinventing the sport. It requires honoring it, and Sophie, for all the headlines, is built to be part of the solution. She's blunt, but she listens. She gets heated, but she shows up. If the league offers the room, she'll bring the film and the focus to match. If officials extend a hand, she's the type to shake it and then compete like nothing ever happened. That's what you want in a culture. Sharp edges that can still fit together when the work starts. Iron sharpening iron, not iron filing a complaint. For players watching this saga, there's a lesson that travels. Your voice matters, but so does your vessel. Choose words that aim at outcomes, not people. Keep the receipts, clips, timestamps, patterns, so the conversation can move from emotion to evidence. And when you cross the line, own it quickly so you can step right back into the room where fixes get made. That's not soft, that's smart. That's how pros turn a gripe into guardrails. For fans, the call is simple and old-fashioned. Stay loud for the right reasons. Demand safer play and steadier standards. Cheer for toughness that doesn't spill into recklessness. Push the league to show its work and give officials credit when they nail a big, brave call late. The game you love will always mirror the values you reward. If you prize fairness and clarity, it will grow toward both. And when Sophie returns, because she will, let that first home game be a little referendum on how we move forward. Let the cheers say we missed the edge, and let the calm say we learned something too. If a whistle stings, watch her breathe steady and get back to the next action. If a whistle saves a body, nod as a building and mean it. That's how you reset a relationship, one clean possession at a time. So here's where we land. The fine is a page, the injury is a chapter, the standard we build next is the book. If the league leads with wisdom, if officials lean into clarity, if players like Sophie keep their courage and sharpen their delivery, the game will come out of this stronger. That's the promise of basketball at its best, resilience wrapped in respect. And that, more than any memo or meme, is what will be remembered when the lights go down and the ball goes up again.